Good morning, everybody. As you're starting to come in, I just want to make sure, first of all, you can hear me and see me. And you know what? The best way to do that is actually in the chat, put where you're from. We'll love to know where you're coming from. Plus, I get to know that you actually can hear me. Make sure everything's set up because this is a live meeting. And so, oh, thank you. We got some folks coming in from Denver. All right, we got Philadelphia to, I guess you want to say go Birds. All right, so you got Philly in the house. Hey, we got New York by the way of Crown Heights. Oh, yeah, we got Atlanta in the house today. We got Chicago, Washington, D.C. showing up, Manassas, Virginia. Now we got Houston, Texas showing up today. That's really awesome. So as you're starting to come in to exit, just make sure that you can get your question today in, put in the chat where you're from so that way you get to practice that right now. Hey, we got Cincinnati. We got Kansas City. So we got the two teams that's playing tomorrow in the chat. So let's keep this friendly, all right? We're going to keep this friendly. Hey, we got Delaware's in the house. We got Bryan, Texas coming in here. Hey, we got, is that Maine up here coming in? Oh my goodness. Hey, Greenville, North Carolina's showing up. Hey, I know about North Kakalaki showing up today. That's really awesome. I'm over on the East Coast side of the house with Greensboro. Hey, Florida showing up today. How you doing, Andre? Seeing you today. Oh, more Florida folks are showing up today. Congratulations. This is really awesome. So I see we got a lot of East Coast showing up. We got a little bit of the Midwest almost kind of showing up. I'm seeing if we're gonna get some people to come from on the west side here that's showing up today. So as you start to come in, this is going to be a lot. So just real quick before we forget, a couple of administrative things. Use your chat to ask your question. Don't wait until the last minute because we're going to run out of time. We keep this within an hour, and so we just want to make sure that you came here for a purpose. Let's go ahead and get that. So make sure you have your pen and paper, or however you want to take your notes today, because this is going to be very, very impactful. Hey, I see you. I see you, Alvin, coming from Cincinnati. Hey, so as you start to prepare that, I want to go ahead and tell you right now so you don't forget. You're going to thank me. You're just going to thank me. The person who invited you to this meeting today, go ahead and tell them thank you. Go ahead and send a text right now that says, hey, I want to thank you in advance because this was powerful. And I'm telling you, you don't want this to be like, oh, I forgot to tell them and feel bad, right? So just go ahead and tell them right now, thank you for bringing you to this meeting. So this is going to be really awesome. All right, so I'm looking at the chat. We got some more people coming in. Yep, there you go. I see the thank yous are starting to come in now. That's awesome. Hey, that's really good because when you hear what you're going to hear today, it's going to blow your mind. So hopefully you're in a safe environment. You're not driving because this is going to be some real good information on here today. And then because of this event that's actually coming together, we normally have what we call a property tour, right? Where we have a person within our community, a real estate investor who's actually in action in today's time. And so today we're making a little change. So we have one of our instructors who helps us as we are investors throughout this year, who's going to share some insight, on some things that you really want to, kind of remove all your distractors, turn off your TV, turn off the radio. You want to be plugged in today. And you're going to say, Keith, that was an awesome idea. So you want to be focused. So hopefully in a safe environment, get ready. We got some more people coming in. Hey, saying thank you. So, hey, this is really awesome. Um, do we have some? So we had New York. Normally we have somebody from New Jersey shows up, but I don't know. We'll see about that. So welcome, welcome, welcome. So I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm ready to hear this information myself. Scott, I want to also say thank you for putting this together. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't even have this. I mean, I think you say you're going on 6 years of doing this here coming up. And I just want to say thank you. You saw this before COVID, and it was awesome during COVID, and we still running strong. Sharing with people that you can do this thing called real estate investing in today's time. And then today we're going to hear from, oh my gosh, Mr. Armstrong himself. You can see the flyer right there, seller finance notes. Oh my gosh, I'm so eager. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and stop right now. Mr. Armstrong, if you don't mind coming on out, I'm gonna stop sharing right here so you can go ahead and start to talk about, the things that you want to share today. But today we have some folks in here are just this is their first time. They've never been here and they're kind of curious about, what this is all about. But they also want to know, like, who are you? Like, can you talk about a little bit who you are and how you got started? And Anything you want to share from there, my friend? I know it's going to be good. So if you don't
Sure.
mind, go ahead,
Well,
come on out.
welcome everybody. First, thank you, Keith and Scott, especially for having me on. I really appreciate it. I haven't done many podcasts, but this year I was inspired by Jay Roof, who who had me on the Juice Show last month, and I said I'm going to do a podcast a month. So thank you for having me on, and thank you all for joining on this early Saturday morning. It's 9 o'clock here in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. If you don't know where that is, it's about 3.5 hours west of Phoenix, right on the California-Arizona border, right on the Colorado River. I can look across the river and I can see the California mountains. So that's where I'm at. I'm Arizona time, which is a different time than everybody else usually. And about me, well, I started in real estate when I was 19 years old. I bought a triplex, 3 units. I lived in one unit and rented out the other two. And I continued to do that until I was 25. And by 25, I had 27 doors. So I did the buy and hold. I did the fix and flip. I did the short, vacation rental stuff way back when, before it was even called vacation rental. We did that. And at 25, I took a boot camp, one of those, hey, come make $10,000 a month for the rest of your life, right? Come be a millionaire. I went to all those workshops, and we called them dog and pony shows, right? We went to all those dog and pony shows back then. And this one stuck. I'm sitting in the workshop, and the guy says, be the bank, not the landlord. I'm like, what? I don't have to clean toilets and fish stuff out of the toilets. I don't have to try to figure out how to cover up black paint on walls. I don't have to figure out how to get concrete out of plumbing, right? I mean, all the horror stories that landlords have, I got a ton of them too, and I can share those with you. But I'm sitting in this workshop, and they said, be the bank, not the landlord. And I was like, I don't have to landlord. I can be the bank. And then I was a little confused. Wait, be the bank? How do you be the bank? Do I got to get a bank and get a vault and a bunch of money in it? And then you need safe deposit boxes and tellers and stuff. And I'm freaking out. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Be the bank? And they're like, no, 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 no. For those of you that are making monthly mortgage payments, what the guy was saying was, be the person that's receiving that monthly mortgage payment rather than the one that's paying that monthly mortgage payment. And that's something that really hit me in 20 minutes into this 90-minute presentation this guy was giving. I was already in the back of the room signing up for a 5-day, $7,500 boot camp way back in 1991. And that's how I got started in this, is from a boot camp. But I saw the potential in it. I knew in my heart of hearts that this was for me. This was something that I could do. And back then in 1991, it wasn't a fledgling business, but there was a group of good old boys, let's call them, and they had a little handle on it, and they thought they were going to keep it to themselves. But when this company started going out and teaching people, I had the opportunity to go learn it, and so I started. And when I started, I kept my job. I worked at Ralph's grocery store in Southern California for I think it was 9 years and 11 months, from the time I was 15 and a half till the time I was about 25 is when I quit. And I started this business. I didn't quit when I started this business. It took me 9 months to get my first transaction. Are you guys still there? Everything okay? The video
Yep, we
seems
still
a little
here.
slow.
Yeah,
Yep.
yes, we're
Oh,
here.
all right. I'll keep talking. It took me 9 months to get my first transaction. I did not quit my job until 19 months after I started doing this business. And I never looked back since then. I've done a lot of transactions. I'll tell you what kind of transactions in a second here. But before the crash, before 2008, it was really easy for me to do 100, 120 deals a year, closed transactions. So I have almost 2,700 deals under my belt, closed transactions. And if you know anything about real estate investing, you know that it takes multiple offers to get someone to say yes. Last year, I keep statistics, really detailed statistics every year about what I do. And in my business last year, I had to talk to 37 note holders for every closed deal that I did. And that's a lot. This is a real business. This is a business that I think anybody can do. Yeah, you got to have a little real estate knowledge, and you got to like numbers. It's a very big numbers game. Uh, but it's a business that's simple. It's just not easy. And that's what people forget is this is a real business. This is something you have to put time, effort, and money into, money for marketing to get people to contact you so you can get deals. Yes, you need money to have a business. And it's a real business. And a lot of people don't have the patience or the fortitude to stick to it. So that's why we're here. That's why this community is here to help you guys, you fledgling real estate investors, you experienced real estate investors, those of you that want to take it to the next level. We're here to help you take yourselves to the next level and motivate you and be by your side when you're doing some of these transactions. Let's talk about what kind of transactions. What we're talking about here is seller finance notes. A seller finance note is a note where the property seller carries back a mortgage for the buyer of the property. So the buyer doesn't go out and get a mortgage from Bank of America or Chase or a mortgage company or another lender. No lenders are involved, usually. And the seller of the property carries back the equity in their property, a mortgage for the buyers, and then the buyer pays the seller every month. He's a seller finance note holder, and that's what we go after. We don't look for and purchase mortgages from banks and mortgage companies and stuff. I mean, you can do that. There's some reasons why we do and don't do it, and that's why you got to watch the class. But that's our focus: is first position performing individually held seller finance notes that came about when a seller of a property carried back a note to facilitate the sale of their own property. That is what we buy. That is what we go after. And we've been doing that since 1991. Pre-crash, I mentioned we were doing over 100 deals a year easily every year. And let's bring it current, though. Let's come to 2025. I can't believe it's 2025. I can't believe I've been doing this for 34 years, right? Sitting on my couch at home, traveling the world and using my laptop and getting on the phone when I need to. This is a business, and I pay attention to it. And my fiance says maybe I pay a little too much attention to it sometimes, but this is my business. This is my livelihood. This is how I'm building my generational wealth for my daughters and my new grandbaby. I have a grandbaby now. I'm a grandpa. Can you believe that? Oh my gosh. I don't even feel like it. I feel like I'm 35 still. But and the rule is you can't call me grandpa. My grandpa name is Zazu. So that's what it's going to be. When the kid starts talking, that's what I'm going to encourage her to call me. Very, very cute. I'm very excited. When she gets older, we'll have a lot of fun together. Anyway, so that's what I do. In a nutshell, I tried to keep it as short as I can. I took up 9 minutes of our hour already. So shoot, Keith, what else can we talk about here? Is that good enough?
Yeah, and I appreciate, you kind of sharing like who you are, how you got started, because a lot of people they have this conception in their head that they started from day one and everything was perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
They was in a line of family, and so it was just the next one that says, okay, here's all your properties. Now you're a real estate investor. What was some of
Yeah.
your
Yep.
hesitation about this seller, the seller finance? And I know you talked about, being the bank, but what was some of your like reservations other than the mechanics of like finding the
Well,
money?
yeah, that's a good. Well, finding the money in the beginning in 1991 was really hard. Today, it's quite a bit easier, right? I have transitioned. When I started out in 1991, I would be the middleman and I would broker a lot of these notes. So you'd have a seller over here, right? And then I'm in the middle, and you got the investor over here, or what we call the funding source, or the investor over here, and I'm in the middle. So I brokered them. The funding source would offer a price for the note. I would offer the seller something less, and I get the difference at the end of the transaction. In the beginning of this, it was hard to find investors because there was a little group of good old boys, and they were buying all the notes in the country, and they were gobbling them all up and selling them to a few institutional funding sources. And I had to figure out how to get my foot in the door. That was not easy. I got a lot of grief from people that were in the business. What are you doing? Telling people what we do. You're opening it up to too many people. And you know what? There's plenty of out there for us. There's plenty of notes out there for everyone to go after. Some of the things that I was hesitant about is this is a sales business, right? I didn't know much about negotiating and getting people to say yes and talking on the phone, right? So those are some of the skills that I had to learn, and this is a community where a real estate investor community where we have education to help you learn negotiating skills and sales skills to help you, do your business. I didn't have that help in the beginning. In 1991, I was on my own, all by myself, all alone. When you take those boot camps, do they usually have people that help you after the fact to answer questions and help you along the way? No, not back in 1991. They didn't. They're like, hey, congratulations, you are a certified mortgage investor. Here's your certificate. Good luck to you. And I took it and I ran with it. So those were some of my hesitations. Gosh, I was really nervous about talking to people on the phone and being a salesman. But you work through it. When you have that burning desire deep down, you work through it. But those are my hesitations. And these days, there shouldn't be as many hesitations. Everyone's hesitant. Everyone's nervous about starting something new or doing something new. But that's why, we're in this community together all across the nation. There's people all over the place that will help you in whatever real estate niches you choose. And the one we're talking about today is an advanced strategy. Seller finance notes is an advanced strategy. I want you to go out and do a buy and hold and be a landlord for a while. I want you to go out and do a fix and flip. I want you to explore, short-term rentals. I want you to look at how short sales works and what land is all about. And when you have already done some of those things, ready to take yourself to the next level, boom, I'm here for you, right? Go inside the community support, watch the 3 days of classes, and you're golden. And then you can start working with me. So that's kind of where we're at.
Awesome. And so, I know some folks are thinking of their questions as they about to put it into the chat. So,
okay,
I think there's a couple of things where it's like, seller financing, but then there's that note. Sometimes that note kind of confuses people because they think of like a mortgage, and they think loan, right? They don't think of note. So when you talk about seller financing note, um, can you kind of dive just a little bit more
okay.
to kind of help people really understand? Because it sounds scary for some folks.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yes. So we buy technically loans, but we don't call them loans because no one is giving any money to anybody. The seller is carrying back the equity in their property. No money is changing hands, is passing over to anyone. The seller is carrying back the note and mortgage on the property. The mortgage is the security instrument. It secures the note to the property. Let me back up here. Let's talk about the note. The note is the document that the buyer of the property signs that says, I will pay you X amount of dollars a month, right? $300 a month at 7% interest on this day, the first of every month, until an end date, until 30 years from now, right? That's the one that dictates all of the terms of the repayment. That's the note. But in order for the note to be connected to the property, to be secured by the property, it has to be secured with a security instrument. The security instrument in some states is a mortgage. In other states, the security instrument is a deed of trust. And other states and some areas, they use land contracts or contracts for deeds. Those can also be a seller finance note. And so once that note is secured to the property, now we have a very secure investment that if worst case scenario happens and we buy that note and we have to take back the property, we are secure. We can get our money back. What investment do you know of that you can buy and if it goes bad, still get your money back? Only if you do it properly. This is one of those businesses that you can do that. If you do it properly, you can absolutely buy notes when you get to that point and make a profit on them. That's what we do. Does that help a little bit about notes
Yeah.
and security documents?
Yeah, and I appreciate that because as you kind of explained it, Jerry actually put a question there and he's trying to figure out, what's the difference between brokering and purchasing those?
Absolutely. Oh, man, that's a good one because I've been doing this 34 years now, and I have made that transition. When I started out, I was 100% a broker. I would find note holders that had a need for money, and I would connect them with the investors that I had found and funding sources that could pay that money to them, and I would take a fee in the middle. So if they paid for a $100,000 note, they paid $80,000 and I would offer the seller maybe 75 and I would take the difference, 75,000. That's brokering. So in brokering, your business is finding the note holders, getting them to accept the price and helping the investors along with the transaction when they do their due diligence, meaning they're going to ask you some questions. They're going to ask you to get some copies from the seller and that kind of stuff. And then at the end of the transaction, you get your fee. That's brokering. You're the middleman. You're not using any of your own money. The money that you're using is to attract and market to the note holders to bring to contact you and bring notes to you and get notes coming across your desk every day. That's brokering. You're in the middle. And when you're brokering, you're only as good as your last closed transaction, right? And you need to close more transactions in the future to get more money to come in. That's brokering. That's a business. It's a good business. It's a simple business. It's just not as easy as it sounds. It's tough, but not too tough. Don't let me scare you off here. Investing in notes. Now I have transitioned. Beginning 1991, I was 100% a broker until from people that didn't want to teach me how to do this to buy my first note in 1996. Flash forward 2025, now I probably buy 80% of the notes that come across my desk and only broker out ones that I don't want to buy myself. I have made that transition from broker to buyer, and now I'm buying all across the nation for my own account. I'm an end investor now for these first position seller finance notes. And being an investor, when you buy these notes, let me ask you guys this question. Have you ever gotten a mortgage? How about this? For those of you that have gotten a mortgage in the past when you purchased a property and you're sitting down at the closing table and you're signing all the documents, there's one document that says that's the truth in lending document, and it shows you how much you're going to pay over the term of that loan. So if you got a 30-year mortgage and it was $100,000, it says on that paper, over the 30 years, you're going to pay $389,017, right? A huge number. And you look at that number and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm borrowing 100,000, but I'm going to pay back over 30 years, 380,000. This is crazy. These banks are a ripoff. No, this is compounding interest. This is the eighth wonder of the world or something like that, right? This is one of those things that wow, everybody can take advantage of if they know how to do it. So imagine if you're the bank, if you're the person or entity holding that mortgage, and you get to receive all those payments for 30 years. So is it better, to stay as a broker and make 5,000, 2,000, 10,000 on a transaction? Or is it better in the long run for long-term wealth and generational wealth to actually own the mortgage, the note, receive those payments every month, let them build up, and see how much profit you have after 30 years. A couple $100,000, right? So it's what I call extreme passive income. It's extreme passive income because I'm not knocking on the tenant's door. Hey, where's your rent this month? Right? I don't have to go maintain the property. I don't have to pay property taxes. I don't have to pay for hazard insurance. That's the note payor, the person paying you. That's their responsibility. My extreme passive income comes from the mortgage payment. I get my mortgage payment every month. What do I have to do? Nothing but deposit it. That's it. And it's even better when it goes into my Roth self-directed IRA. Everything that goes in there, I'm never going to have to pay a dime of taxes on. Right? So imagine putting one mortgage in your self-directed Roth IRA every year and just let them sit there and build up and build up and build up. Right? So the difference between brokering and investing is that when you're brokering, you're only as good as your last deal, right? And you got to do another deal to make some more money. When you're investing, you buy one note, you buy one seller finance note, and you get those mortgage payments coming in every month for possibly up to 30 years. You tell me what's better. It's something to work for. It's not, I want to invest and I don't want to broker. It's you broker to kind of learn the business and get your feet wet. And maybe you only need to close maybe, I don't know, 10 or 20 transactions before you know what you're doing and you can start investing yourself. When we're talking about investing, I know some people are probably going to ask the question, hey, how much do I need to buy a note? Well, I'll tell you this. I just bought a $17,000 note on a 10 acres of land for $6,000 last month, right? So you don't need a lot, but you do need to be in the game to have these notes come across your desk. You can't just say, hey, Jeff, I have $6,000. Find me a $17,000 note. I can't. It doesn't work that way. You got to be in the business. You have to have notes coming across your desk all the time, right? It's just like if you're going out to buy rental properties, you're knocking on doors, right? Right. It's how many people can you hit? It's a big numbers game. And we do that game and then we get our transactions and we go from there. So,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome. That is that. I mean, that's really good because
That's the
now,
first Twitter. Oh my God. It took 23 minutes to do a Twitter. Oh my gosh.
no, it was already there. So it was there, and then as you was starting to explain things and break things down, and they're very appreciative because now I'm starting to see the questions starting to fly in. Like, and I think he was hitting this. What are some of the different marketing methods for notes? So I guess the question is, like,
So
yeah,
great question. Yes. That is 70% of our time is marketing for notes, is how do we find these people that have these notes and then try to get them to sell them to us, right? So we do multiple things. I teach in the class. I teach marketing pretty heavily. We dive pretty deep into it. It probably takes up, I don't know, maybe a sixth of the class time for the 3 days, maybe a half a day on just marketing. Because that's what we spend about 70% of our time on every week, every month, every year is trying to find more good notes. There's a ton of notes out there. We'll make offers on all kinds of different notes, good, bad, and ugly. We'll make offers on them. The question is, are these sellers in need and will they accept our price, right? That's the question. Last year, it was one person for every 37 that accepted our price. So, I'm sorry. I think I got off track. We're explaining what now, Keith? I forgot.
no, that's okay. It was about
The
the
marketing.
marketing. Yep.
Marketing. Yes, Keith. Thank you. So the marketing. So what do we do? How do we find these people? I tout and teach direct mail as my number one marketing method to find these note holders. I can buy a list of note holders from certain companies across the nation. People that are actually receiving payments on a note, individually held, first position, seller finance notes, and get their names and addresses sent to me every month. And I send out huge mass mailings every single month. That is my number one marketing method. I get at least, well, last year was 47%, but around 50% of my closed transactions come from my direct mail every single year. It is expensive, especially now. Freaking postage goes up every 6 months. It's going up, right? I think it's at 70 cents now or some godforsaken thing. I was paying, I don't even want to say it. I was upset when it went up to 29 cents way back when, right? So, yeah, I've been doing this a little while. Whew, I got a few gray hairs to show it too. But yeah, the postage tells you direct mail is expensive. So other than that, are there other inexpensive methods that you can find notes? Yes, we place direct classified ads, actual classified ads, not online. We'll get to online in a second, but actual classified ads in little tiny papers across the nation. And we get deals from that every year still. Yes, there are people that actually read handheld papers. Yes, there are. There's people that actually open up their mail and read it and call you and go to your website and fill out your forms. There are. People don't think that. They want the easy way out. They want, oh, click this, click that, make 10 grand. It doesn't happen that way. This is a hands-on business. You're talking to the note holders, you're talking with the investors, you're calculating different things on your fund calculator. Oh, it doesn't even show it. There it is. Your fund calculator to figure out, what you should pay and how much you should take and all that kind of stuff. But so we did direct mail and classified ads. A third way is to build a referral base. The question is, who do you know that might know of someone that is collecting and receiving payments on a note? Title companies, real estate attorneys have been a great referral source for me. Escrow companies, estate planners, people that have passed away that had notes that they left to their heirs, and the heirs don't want that. They want the cash. So what do they want to do? Sell their note, right? So that's a third way. Fourth, yes, internet marketing. We do. I'm not going to say quite a bit. Maybe about 10% of my marketing is internet marketing. What we're looking for out there in the world are individually held first position seller finance note holders. There is not a database online that we can find that has all of them. So the trick online for online marketing and online ads has been getting the right people to respond. Probably half of the responses on my marketing online are people that want loans. They want me to give them money, give a loan. We don't give loans. We purchase loans at a discount. We don't give loans. So that's the issue with online marketing for me, is that it takes a lot of numbers and a lot of people contact you that we're not going to help. You'll get really good at finding some people to refer them to. Oh, you need a loan? Hey, maybe go to this guy. Oh, you need to sell that kind of a note? I don't do that, but this guy does. And then you can get some referrals and stuff like that. So it's not a bad thing that people contact me that buy things, that want to sell what I don't buy. Okay. So that's internet marketing. And fifth is just direct contact. Going to real estate conventions, going to conferences and things, and talking to people and telling them what you do. Hey, I got a deal one time. True story, Scout's honor right here. Boom, Scout's honor, cross my heart, poke a needle in my eye. I got a deal. I flew into Phoenix one time. A guy picked me up in an actual taxi when there were taxi cabs, not Ubers or Lyfts. We're talking taxi cabs. So this is back in the 90s. He's like, hey, what are you here for? I'm like, oh, I'm here to speak about, my business. Oh, what do you do? Well, we purchase seller finance notes. I really don't want to give you the whole spiel right now, but we buy notes at a discount when people sold their property and carry back a note. And what does the taxi driver say? He says, oh, my mother just sold her mobile home and land and carried back a note. You buy those? And I'm like, oh, yeah. What does she got? Do you know the numbers? Right there in the cab, I picked up my little calculator and I calculated out for the guy how much I could pay for that note. And I ended up buying it. But do I put down as a marketing method, ride around in taxi cabs and talk to the cabbie? No, it's not a marketing method. The marketing method is direct contact, is talking to people about what you do. And sometimes you meet people. I met someone on a plane and did the same thing and bought their note. You just never, ever know. So direct contact is another method that I use all the time. We're always talking about what we do. Whew, so that's some of the marketing that we go over. How's that, Keith?
No, that I mean, you dropped like a whole bunch of golden nuggets on that one, and just that you
No,
know the
I
how
there's so many. I'm
I,
taking you
I,
people
I
out early for this on a Saturday morning.
no, you dropped some nuggets, and the reason why I'm saying it is because it's not just what you do, but it's also the reason behind why you do it, and that's where a lot of people get kind of stuck. Is like I know it can be done, but like for instance, you know. You joke about it and you say, hey, I've been doing this since the 90s and we're in 2025. So what you're actually saying is as you learn how to do it, you actually implement what you do and you stay the course, you are reaping the rewards that you put your energy into and you're sharing that with us. And I appreciate that because some people really talk about generational wealth and they have a different picture of it. And you kind of showing us another a view of what we call generational wealth. Now you said it's extreme, but what you are talking about, if they actually take the steps, like you're saying, and work it, you know, and understand the process, their results are going to be based on what they do. And I sure do appreciate it. And we are seeing the results of what you have done in the past, even though we wasn't there, but you sharing with that. And so there's more questions that comes up, like, like some people are asking about like title and insurance, the process once you have a seller finance note. Is that something that
Oh,
you can talk about?
definitely, yeah. Yeah, there is a process. So once we get the sellers to say yes, then we ask for, okay, show us what you have, right? It's like if someone puts an ad for a car, you know, in the paper and it says car for sale, $5,000. But you need some more details, right? Wait, what kind of car is it? Right? What brand is it? Ford, GMC, Chevy? Is it a truck? Is it a car? Is it an electric vehicle? Is it an SUV? Right? How many miles are on it? You want to know a bunch of things about it, don't you? When you buy a car, yeah, you want to know things about it. So when we're buying a note, we want to know things about it. So the first thing we're going to ask for is, hey, let's see it. Show me a copy of the note. Show me a copy of the settlement statement when you sold the property and carried back the note. Show me a copy of that security instrument we talked about earlier. Show me a copy. Did you get title insurance? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. If they don't, of course, we're going to get title insurance. We want to make sure that there's nothing in front of us to wipe out our note if it goes bad, right? And let me pause right here. And I said goes bad twice already. Guys, in all of these years, in the hundreds of notes I purchased and thousands that I brokered, I can't tell you about the brokered ones. I didn't follow them after I sold them off. But of the ones I purchased, hundreds and hundreds of notes, I've only foreclosed twice in 34 years. Okay, it doesn't happen that often. When you pick the right notes for your portfolio and you do it properly, you're not going to have that issue too often of having to foreclose. And when you do, there's people there to help you, the servicing companies and real estate attorneys that are in the network. They're here to help you if those things happen. But they don't really happen that often if you do your due diligence and you properly buy a note. So as we're gathering all these copies of documents, one other thing we're going to ask for, in addition to the note, the settlement statement, the deed of trust, or mortgage or security instrument, the title insurance. We're going to ask for, hey, a copy of the hazard insurance. Is that property insured? We want to be sure it's insured in case a fire breaks out and burns the whole community down. Are we going to be able to get our money back out of it? So we want to make sure the property is insured. So those are just 5 of the documents that we ask for when we start a transaction. And then once we get those documents, we're going to review them. We're going to make sure that everything the seller told us is the same, right? Because sometimes they say, oh, the payment's $500, but it's really $468.72. It makes a difference. Those couple of bucks on every payment make a big difference in the long run over the long term. So when we start, diving into it, we can then actually see what they have, and then we'll give them a firm price. We'll probably look at the credit of the payor if we can, and then give them a firm price. Once we're past that point of giving them a firm price after we have looked at the buyer's credit and looked at all the copies of their documents, we give them a firm price. Then it's up to them to say yes. When they say yes, we have them sign an initial agreement and we continue the due diligence. We'll do an appraisal of the property, a drive-by appraisal, or a BPO, a broker's price opinion, to get the value of the property and make sure that, hey, if we do have to take it back, will we be able to get our money back? And two, we will get an update to the lender's title policy of insurance, or we'll get a new lender's title policy of insurance and a new commitment for ourselves. And those are the things that take the time, right? I mean, I've closed transactions in literally 3 days if everything is in order. Up to, well, shoot, last year, one took 9 months to close because there were some issues on the title that, guess who, we cleaned them up for the seller, made it all nice and clean so that when we buy it, it's all nice and clean. So that's not a lot of stuff that you guys got to worry about in the beginning. That's after the fact. That's what we help you with after you get them to say yes. The major job of people starting in this note industry is to be a good note professional, get out there and find these note holders, find out if they have a need for money, get some investor prices, and try to get them to say yes. You know, that's your job out there. How does that sound, Keith?
No, that's awesome because I like how you laid it out in your classes. Also, kind of laid it out also. And and for the folks who are listening, and what I heard was, here's the things you need to focus on, and then there's how you mitigate the risk and how you was talking about, because that people have like the buyer's remorse and they kind of scared, and you just talked about how you can minimize your risk if this happens or if that happens. So again, I appreciate that. And because there's another question that came up is, like Deborah was asking, what happens when a buyer refinances and the note changes hands? Is I want to make sure.
Okay, so if a buyer refinances, that means they got a new loan, and the note you bought, you get paid off. So if you bought let's use the $17,000. If you bought a $17,000 note for $6,000 and they refinance, they're going to pay you off your $17,000 and you just made 11 grand, right? That's what happens when they refinance. You get paid off. And we hate it when they do that. We hate getting paid off. You know why? We don't really hate it. We love it because we make a bunch of money and we've realized our profit and we have a nice ROI and our yield is even higher when it pays off early. But we hate it because now I got to go find another note to put that money back in. And that's not an easy task sometimes, right? I can't just go over to the store and get a new note to replace it. I got to do my work again. Someone has to call me. I have to get them to accept the price, and then I get to buy it again. So when someone refinances and we get paid off, we're jumping up and down all the way to the bank, which I don't go to anymore. You don't have to.
I like that.
I'm all about mailbox money because I would literally go to the post office and get the checks, and then I'd have to deposit them all in the bank, and right. But now it's all ACH. I even have to do less work these days. It's great. It's the best.
Yeah, turn on your computer. So just let you know, you got a lot of Twitter that's in the chat. So
Twitter, baby. Twitter stands for that's what I'm talking about. You know me. If you already watched the class, you definitely know about it. Twitter is the way to go. I wrote a book, a Twitter book. It's like on the verge of getting done. I need about 3 or 4 more months, so it's not going to be ready for nationals. But my goal is to get it out by summer, and it'll be the Twitter book. I won't give you the whole title yet, but it's pretty special. I've been working on it since COVID, all by myself. It is not easy to write a book, right? Especially when you're busy buying notes all day. But you guys can look forward to that in the near future this year.
Awesome.
Whoop, whoop.
Thank you. We're definitely looking forward to that. And then here's the cool thing. So as you're talking about notes, I think some people are thinking like, notes that are performing. So there's a question that came in: do you purchase or broker delinquent notes? And if can you kind of talk
So
about
the
the difference between the two?
yes, let's talk about that. Performing versus non-performing. And we talk about this on in day 3 of the classes in the Renatus community. Um, uh, the difference between a performing note is when you're receiving your payments every month on time, right? A defaulted or delinquent note, usually we don't call it non-performing until they haven't paid for 3 months, which is 90 days late. When they get to 90 days late, then we call that a non-performing note. You could call it non-performing after one payment. That's totally up to you. But we usually call it non-performing after 3 payments. When they have missed 3 payments in a row, they're 90 days late. That's a non-performing note. When you're comparing performing notes versus non-performing notes, performing notes are worth more money because they are performing and the cash flow is coming in. The reason we buy notes, guys, is to get that extreme passive income coming every month. That's why we buy notes. We want the cash flow. We don't want the property. That's not what I'm after. I'm not buying notes because I hope to foreclose and get the property. That's not the game with performing notes. That is the game with non-performing notes. If you want to get the property without having to buy it, you can buy the non-performing note at a discount, even a steeper discount than performing notes, and go for the property. So there is another segment. There's so many different ways to do notes. One of the ways is performing first position seller finance notes. That's just one way. Another way to do the note business is non-performing notes. That's just another one way, and there's several others as well. Non-performing notes is a whole different ball game. It's like apples and oranges. It's like baseball versus football. It's two different things. Non-performing notes is much more work intensive. You need much more time involved in it because eventually you're going to get that property back and you're going to have to fix it up, repair it, and then resell it to get your money out of it. That's not something I want to spend my time on. However, do I purchase them? In Arizona, yes, I'll look at all non-performing notes in Arizona all day long. In other states, yes, I look at them. Why? Because I can broker them. I can sell them off to someone that buys that kind of a note, right? I have investors that buy non-performing seconds. I have investors that buy non-performing first. The investors are out there. You don't have to find them. You just have to know me. That's all you have to do, right? And I'm planning on living till I'm 102, so I got 43 years to go. I'm not going anywhere. So there you go. Twitter.
I like that. And thank you for, sharing the difference between uh the two. And so there's some
It's
folks.
explained much more in the class. There are big differences. It's much more work intensive to do non-performing notes. And today, I see out there people paying wrong prices for them, paying too much for them because they're caught up in the number. Oh, I bought this note for 50 cents on the dollar, dude. I just bought that performing $17,000 little tiny note for less than 50 cents on the dollar. Your non-performing note should be worth less. You should pay less than I did for the performing note, right? I don't think you should pay any more than 10 cents on the dollar for any non-performing note. That's just my personal opinion. But there's people out there paying 70, 80 cents on the dollar for non-performing notes to get to the property. That's their own business. That's their own ball game.
Yeah.
So I'm off my soapbox.
No, you know what? That actually leads into a question that was actually that's posted, and I'm finding it right here. What's the major misconceptions you found is the biggest challenge for new investors? And I think you kind of leading to that when you were talking about people paying for more for non-performing, but what are some of the misconceptions that you found that kind of trips a lot of people up when it comes to um,
That
selling
there's
notes?
actual work involved. That there's actual work involved. People think they can send out a letter, get a call, and make 10 grand. It doesn't work that way. You got to put the time in. You got to coddle these note holders. You got to get them on the phone. You got to talk to them. You got to let them talk, and you got to build a rapport and understand what they really need. Because if they don't have a need, we're never going to do a deal with them. If they don't need the cash, they're not going to say yes, right? We got to get to that underlying need, and 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 there's work involved. Yes, you can start this part-time, but it's going to be slow going, right? Part-time effort gets part-time results. Um, but I'm also not saying go quit your job and do this full time. You definitely don't want to do that. You definitely want to keep your daytime job and do this on the side until you reach a point where your income surpasses what you're already making. That is my official line on that. Don't quit your job to do this business. This is a simple business in that there's only 7 steps to go through, but it's not easy. It's not easy to learn how to negotiate over the phone, right? A lot of people think I've got a new note broker in mind right now that he'll talk to the note holder for 5 minutes, get the information on the worksheet, then he'll send a price in an email. That's probably the worst thing you could do. You call them up on the phone. You get the tone. Tell them how great this price is, right? You pump them up and then you tell them this great price and try to get them to accept it. When you just send out numbers, they're going to contact 10 others to send them numbers, right? You got to be the different person. You got to be the person that goes a step further to get that guy to do that deal with you. There's competition out there, guys, right? You're not alone out there anymore. This is not, oh, there's very few people doing it. There's quite a few people doing it, just enough to make it competitive. All right. So how does that answer that question, Keith?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I think yeah, it does, and more
that
to it.
is so easy. You don't have to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that because some people walk in because they see stuff on social media and it is what it is, and I like this community. I like how, you took the time out to explain a lot of these things. I know a lot of people trying to catch us by like a fire hose, right? We only have so much time here. That's why we like the community. We like the
Yeah.
education. Thank you for even being part of, one of the instructors as we navigate this journey called real estate investing. And so it's a journey, and this is definitely one of those tools that you should have in your pocket. As I'm looking at, so there's some questions that kind of went back to some things that you already stated. So we're not going to kind of go back to that. The one thing that when you're talking about performing and non-performing, and the things that you look at for a performing, and it's not really fair to ask this question because you've been doing it for a while, but from a new person who's want to get involved of this and they're going to be a good student of it, what have you seen as a typical time frame from a person to get started to where they actually kind of done a note? And I'm not trying to put the pressure on you, but I'm not saying that's the average for
Sure,
everybody,
sure.
but just an idea.
Absolutely. Uh, well, I started teaching and speaking about notes in 1998, and I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands and thousands and thousands of students. And one common theme of, man, Keith, I'm sorry, I just lost your question again. Sorry, something moved over here, and it
No,
made me
no
forget.
problem. It happens to
What,
me. It's kind of like the average time frame, like a new person who really wants to dive into this. They're going to do their part.
frame?
You can't really answer everything for them because we don't know their work ethics, but it's kind of like expectations, managing
Right.
expectations of getting started.
Okay. I just forgot my train of thought and where I was going with that. Yeah, so I've been doing this for years and years. I've taught thousands of students, and they all want to know how fast can I get my first note deal closed, right? That's really the question. And I tell people it's going to take you 3 to 6 months of consistent marketing to get a first deal closed. It might take longer, it might take shorter, but on average, it takes my students 3 to 6 months to close their first transaction, brokered transaction, right? Some of you guys might already have money, and we can, that's a whole nother discussion for maybe a whole nother podcast of investing in notes, just talking about investing in notes. But for the business of notes, for brokering, then you start a business to broker notes. It's going to take at least 3 to 6 months of consistent marketing to get and close your first transaction as a note broker. That's my statistics. I saw a question on there too that said, how do you keep your statistics? And you don't want to know that because I do it old school. I started in 1991, right? When cell phones were a brick and computers were as big as a TV, right? That's when I started. So how do I keep statistics? On my legal yellow pad, making little notes with my pen, right? Little hash marks, 5, 10, 20. That's how I keep my statistics. And I still do it that way just because that's how I do it. I know, guys, there's so many better other ways to do it, but I do what I do, and you can figure out what works best for you. But that's how I keep my statistics is just 5 at a time, making
That's
hash marks.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, thank you for, providing that insight, because it all starts with getting started, right? And so just want to remind everybody just real quick, the person who invited you here, they thought about you. And so now you're here. So I would say reach out to the person who invited you because there's some more information that you want to get, like who we are. We keep talking about this community. We talk about this education. Reach out to that person so you can get plugged in because there's some meetings like right after this is on a different Zoom link where they can, get you to what we call the introduction to understanding those pieces. And if it's not today, it could be another day of the week. Just reach out to them. Everything that Jeff was talking about was communicating with people. So communicate to the person who invited you so that way you can start your process as you kind of go through. And so we're kind of getting short on time and Jeff, you've been very busy and I should do thank you. So the way we kind of end this, um, there's some things that you were thinking of as you were sharing with us, and some questions came in, and then sometimes those ideas come back. You know what? I wish I, I'm gonna tell them this. And so, what we're kind of looking for, like the encouragement, like we're about to break away. Some people are going to go off and do great things. Some people are going to do whatever. They're kind of sitting on the fence, just in general about real estate investing, right? Not even just selling finance. What will be some of the things that you want to leave with them as we about to close? Because some people are about to go to another meeting. Um, that you think they should
Absolutely.
hear.
Uh, well, I started out early on the podcast that I said I think almost everyone can do this business. It's fairly simple. It's just not easy. Keep in mind that the best way to be successful is to connect yourself with people that are already doing what you want to do, right? If you want to do fix and flips, Renatus has a community of people that do fix and flips and has the teachers and the instructors and the people that you can get together with and learn from to do fix and flips. You want to do wholesaling, there's people for that. You want to do buy and hold, there's people for that. So the biggest thing about being successful for me has been the people that I've surrounded myself with, right? I have people from my past in the 90s that I didn't know they were mentors until recently. I look back and I go, oh my gosh, that guy was a mentor to me. That guy was a mentor to me. That guy taught me this, that guy taught me that. And you don't know who and where you learn things from. Everyone learns differently. And when you get in a community, you can learn from the people that get you, that can teach you. I know there's people on this podcast today that you're not quite a real estate investor yet, you're not involved yet, but someone invited you here, right? So these are the real, we call them newbies, and it's not a bad term. We love newbies because then we get to mold your brain and teach you the right knowledge. Yes, but there's some of you out there that you were invited to this today and you didn't know what it was all about, and we keep talking about community. Get with the people that invited you, figure out how to get involved, and then you can watch my classes and all the other classes. For those of you that are already in the community and you haven't watched my class yet, shame on you. Get your butt in front of your computer and watch my 3 days of class. Whether you're going to do my strategy or not, having the knowledge about seller finance notes will make you 100% a better real estate investor just by knowing the ins and outs of how it works. For those of you that are experienced real estate investors that have multiple transactions under your belt already, I'd like you to look at this. Maybe you want to not do another fix and flip and take that profit and put it into a note now. That's something that you can talk to me about. I only work with people that are involved in the community and have watched my classes because I don't have time to teach everyone the 3 days of content by myself, one-on-one hand holding, right? I'm busy buying notes every day. I'm busy talking to note holders every day. I'm busy closing deals with real estate and attorneys and title companies across the nation. I can't hold your hand alone. That's why there's a class. You go watch the class. Then I invite you to, I give you all my contact info, and I invite you to contact me and work with me on building a successful note business. So I think for those types of people that are in listening today, that's what you need to do, right? Contact those people, surround yourself with people that are doing what you do, and this Renatus community is a great place to do that. How's that, Keith? And Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Matter of fact, yeah, I'm seeing people like Chad saying thank you, Jeff, and for putting this together. Another Twitter. So if you hearing and you really appreciate what Jeff was saying today, go ahead and just put some type of emoji in there, say thank you because he took time out of his day, and I'm so appreciative of that and how you kind of wrap everything together. Yep, there goes some more Twitter. And D said thank you. So Jeff, thank you. And here's the other thing too, for folks who are already part of the community or thinking about being a part, if you want to meet Jeff, are we going to see each other next? Was it? We're in February, so March. Are we going to see each other next month? Where are you going to be next month?
March. We'll be at Nationals in March in Salt Lake City. I'll also be over there in Chicago in June.
See, there you go. So it's awesome that
Yeah.
we learn and we get to meet. So it'd be great to meet you again, see you again at Nationals. I mean, the chat is just going crazy right now. So showing you a lot of love, Jeff. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. Hey, next Saturday we have another property tour. So this is going to be really awesome. Again, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Scott, for putting this together. Thank you for everybody who's been here. Hopefully, you got something out of it. Reach back to the person who invited you to this and say thank you, and start your journey. All right, everybody, you have a good one, and see you next Saturday.
Awesome, Keith. Bye, guys. Thank you very much, Scott. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Have a good Saturday.